What's going on, everybody? So the Steam Deck OLED model was officially announced, along with two separate types of models, the 512GB and the 1TB, for pretty much the same price that the 500GB LCD version used to be. And from that announcement, it is clear that Valve is just going all in with their Steam Deck handheld. And a year and change ago, I wouldn't have ever anticipated that Valve would be pretty much the king of handheld PCs. And I'll be honest, when I saw that announcement, I kind of panicked a little bit because it seemed like the end of every other handheld PC out there. But the thing about that thought and the reality of it is, first and foremost, the Steam Deck is a Linux-based handheld PC, which means it's going to have some limitations in terms of compatibility. And I know I've said that a lot, but it is really important to me, the compatibility between the system and the games, especially when it comes to PC games. But yes, the Steam Deck OLED model has officially been announced, and it looks amazing. They've improved on everything from the RAM speed, the button feel, even the weight of the system is slightly lighter than it used to be. And like I've said in a post before, even though all of these inclusions are going to come with the OLED model of the Steam Deck, obviously including an OLED screen, I still personally wouldn't buy one right now. And it's mainly because I've customized my Steam Deck to the point that it feels like a family member. I already have a 1TB SSD inside of it, along with other improvements that I wouldn't want to see go if I were to buy an OLED Steam Deck. Now, besides that obvious reason why I wouldn't want to get a new model, there are other reasons why I think the OLED Steam Deck isn't really worth the upgrade, personally for me, over the Steam Deck. And there's a lot of other people that think the same thing. Well, honestly, when I heard the OLED model was coming out, I was waiting for a specific detail to drop, and that is the resolution of the system. Now, a lot of people say that the Deck HD is ultimately done for with the OLED model being available, but I beg to differ, because even though it is OLED, it's still an 800p screen. And I know a lot of people say that you can barely tell the difference between 800p and 1200p, especially with an OLED screen. Well, that wasn't the case with the Nintendo Switch. I could still tell that it was very low resolution most of the time, and some games just look atrocious on that 800p screen, especially when you're using FSR 1.0. But of course, the OLED screen is a huge improvement. Sadly, for me personally, I wanted an improvement with the resolution as well as the color and screen quality. If it was a 1080p OLED screen, first of all, that would cost Valve an arm and a leg, but it would look so much better with the crisper graphics and colors. I personally wanted a 1200p screen included with the Steam Deck OLED model, but unfortunately we're not going to get it. I think that is kind of a loss, personally. And the other inclusions would be a slightly modified CPU and faster RAM, which will make your games stutter a lot less, and just the task load for your Steam Deck to handle multitasking a lot better. And I'm assuming there's just a slight difference in performance, around 5 to 10 FPS per game at the most, and most likely with loading times improving even further. And of course, there's also the inclusion of Wi-Fi 6E, which is amazing because the original Steam Deck downloaded games extremely slow at certain points. And seeing a large improvement like adding a whole new Wi-Fi adapter is really awesome. But I personally think if you already own a Steam Deck, you're most likely connected to it like I am, and just don't want to see it go because of a better screen, slightly improved RAM, along with other features. And those features don't really change the game much for people that already own a Steam Deck. But I do think that the Steam Deck OLED model was made to become a lot more appealing to people that were on the fence about picking up a Steam Deck in the first place. Now, most people are probably going to look at it and say, well, it is slightly bigger than other handhelds, but it includes an OLED screen. And not many handhelds include that, except for Nintendo Switch. Now the Steam Deck has become more of a rarity because of the OLED screen as well as the Linux platform that it's in. But here's the real reason why I personally wouldn't pick it up. It's mainly because I prefer 1080p over 800p OLED. I personally prefer higher resolution over higher quality screens. And of course, the OLED will improve battery life as well, which is amazing. And it'll help games to last way longer than they used to. Even with all those inclusions, I still think I'm gonna stick with my original Steam Deck and my ROG Ally, because even though the ROG Ally and Steam Deck have basically the same battery, the ROG Ally is a lot more powerful than the original Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED model. Boy, it's really hard for me not to say the Switch OLED. But initially I wanted a big enough performance boost to justify getting another handheld, and that's where the ROG Ally came in. Now, if I were to think back at the time I wanted to upgrade, I still wouldn't get an OLED model because I wanted a second Steam Deck originally. But the thing about having a second Steam Deck, you also need a second account if you want to play online and download games. You're going to have to switch between both accounts, so that would be kind of a pain in the ass. So with the ROG Ally, I can pretty much do that with other platforms, and it's a separate OS, and I initially wanted Windows 11 on a handheld as well as Linux. So I feel like I have all those boxes checked in terms of what handhelds and specs I want included. And yeah, it would have been awesome if the original Steam Deck would have included an OLED, of course. But I've just done so much work on my current Steam Deck. It took me an entire year to get it to the point where it is right now. And the ROG Ally just pushes those limits even further with its ridiculous hardware. And right now, I'm still very content with having an ROG Ally and a Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck OLED model is an incredible inclusion to the lineup that Valve already had for the deck and its different models. But when it comes to Steam Deck owners like me that have already done so much work on it and have an ROG Ally already to push it even further to justify an even higher resolution than the Steam Deck has, I think that it is kind of a misstep, the fact that Valve didn't include a 1080p OLED but instead included an 800p. I think that would have made a huge difference and would have actually justified me to sell my current Steam Deck and get a new one. But because it is the same resolution, just with slightly higher specs, I really don't think the OLED model is for current Steam Deck users. It's something I personally haven't been waiting for. I didn't think to myself, man, if Valve were to release an OLED model, I would totally just ditch my current Steam Deck and get it. I never really thought that. Even though I have complained about the Steam Deck screen quality and colors, I personally wouldn't replace the screen or replace my Steam Deck. And I'm pretty content with the 1080p screen on the ROG Ally, like I said before. I think the colors on the ROG Ally are incredible, but of course OLED will look a lot better. And also the thing about OLED, I kind of don't like the color grading with OLED screens for the most part. It sort of makes everything look saturated, even though you're playing a game that's not really supposed to be as saturated as an OLED screen depicts it to be. Like with, for instance, Dying Light. That game is supposed to kind of have a lot of grays. It's a zombie game, so it's supposed to have a sort of horror-like filter to it. But if you play that game with an OLED screen, no doubt everything's gonna pop like it's a Nintendo Switch game. And an OLED screen is magnificent for the most part, but a lot of the colors are a little too saturated for my liking. I sort of prefer LCD screens more than OLED for the most part, just for the colors. It just makes everything look way too saturated for me. And of course, it saves a lot of battery, but in turn, because it's activating each and every pixel on its own, those colors are a lot more intense, opposed to just having a filter with light behind it. And I feel like a lot of developers have taken advantage of LCD and the way it displays colors, but haven't really taken advantage of OLED and the way it displays colors. And the last reason I wouldn't want an OLED screen is because the Steam Deck is a desktop computer, as well as it is a handheld. So when you go into desktop mode, there's going to be a lot of whites and permanent colors on the screen, such as the Steam Deck logo and the taskbar. That's the reason why a lot of desktop and laptop PCs don't include OLED screens, because there are a lot of permanent images on a desktop computer, such as the mouse, taskbar, and icons. Those are going to be on the screen no matter what. So imagine you're waiting for a download that's going to take 5 hours and you decide to just keep it on the screen and you completely forget that you're using an OLED, and the fact that OLEDs burn in a lot faster than LCD screens because of the way they operate each pixel. And with some people on YouTube displaying blue on the screen doesn't exactly burn in the colors as fast as white does. Having the colors to the ultimate maximum with white, which a lot of desktop computers have their icons color graded as, will ultimately burn in your screen a lot faster. I just don't trust OLED screens with desktop computers as much as I do with gaming handhelds like Nintendo Switch. It makes a lot more sense because the entire screen shifts every time you switch the menu to one mode or the other, and you're playing different games with different icons, so you're not just going to play one game for like 5 months. But with desktop computers, you are going to have the same exact layout for years on end, indefinitely. So yeah, I just figured why not make this video just to explain exactly why it might not be a good idea to even get an OLED handheld PC like the Steam Deck. OLED to me just doesn't mix with PC games. LCD is a lot more reliable and safe to use with your desktop computers or handheld PCs, especially with something like the ROG Ally. Windows is just full of white icons and kind of the samey sort of look with each individual mode you put Windows in. I mean, Windows only gets whiter the deeper you go into the settings. And with the Steam Deck, when you go into desktop mode, it is a little darker, but there are still some instances where the settings in Linux can be a little bit saturated. But of course, it is a give and take and an exchange that you have to accept when you have an OLED screen no matter what. I just personally wouldn't have it with a handheld PC, and I'm not sure why so many people are excited about it. The only thing I was initially excited about was the better battery life and Wi-Fi adapter. So, would I get it now to replace my current Steam Deck? Hell no. But if my Steam Deck were to crap out in a few years, then yeah, most likely I'll get a Steam Deck OLED model for cheap, if that ever happens. But for right now, I'm perfectly content with my LCD screen on my 1080p ROG Ally with the Z1 Extreme processor. I think that power boost is more than enough to justify picking that over an OLED screen Steam Deck model, and the 1080p screen is something I prefer a lot more than an 800p OLED screen. But yeah, those are my personal reasons why I wouldn't buy a Steam Deck OLED model. Even though it looks incredible, especially for newcomers, I just don't think it's for people that currently have a Steam Deck, especially if they fully customized it like I did. But yeah, let me know what you think about the Steam Deck OLED. Are you getting it? Are you picking it up or exchanging for your current Steam Deck? If you are, let me know. If you're not, let me know too. And thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a good one. Later.